Alright everyone, welcome back to the Royville movie house. Looks like the lights are up and all my popcorn is gone, so I think it is time to talk about our so-called next good movie.
We watched The Sound of Music this week, and Steve's still a little
on the fence, a little out in the meadow on this one.
All right, so The Sound of Music was released in 1965. It stars Julie Andrews as Maria, Christopher Plummer as Captain Von Trapp, Eleanor Parker as the Baroness, Richard Hayden as Max Detwilder, Peggy Wood as Mother Abbess, and I'm only going to name one of the children because there are 7 of them, Charmaine Carr as Liesel. And I guess I should maybe give some credit to Rolf, who was played by Daniel Truheat. It was based on a Broadway musical written by Richard Rogers as the composer, Oscar Hammerstein II as the lyricist and dramatist. I'm having a little problems making the words. Sorry.
Well, that's okay. I was lied to when one of the characters was named the Baroness. Anyway.
The actual writing credits for the movie itself was Howard Lindsay, who adapted the stage musical for the stage, Ernest Lehman, who wrote the screenplay, and the whole shebang is based on a book called The Story of the Trapp Family Singers by Maria Augusta von Trapp.
All right.
So, the movie itself is beautiful, and I'm sorry, you can't say anything differently. It was filmed in Strasbourg, Austria. The mountains, the town, the architecture, everything about this movie is beautiful. There's nothing more to say about it.
I cannot disagree. The first 5 minutes, I thought I was watching Lord of the Rings. Very, very good. I was expecting a group of dwarves and Bilbo Baggins, an elf, to be running across the scenery. But through the whole movie, the location scout needs to have kudos because that was a beautiful backdrop, beautiful scenery. Even the interiors, the exteriors, great.
The movie itself, and I believe this is probably why this is on the top 100 list of all time, and not a whole lot of this kind of musical is on that list. We have Cabaret's on there, which is an innovative musical. For its time, Sound of Music was a little bit innovative, but it was filmed in a different manner than what most stage musical film adaptations would be. It was well acted. It was not over the top acted. It wasn't a Broadway production that they just happened to put on film. It was an actual story where the characters had a quirk of singing some of the plot. It is
way too much.
Oh. It is the 6th highest grossing film of all time.
Really?
6th. That is adjusted for inflation as well.
Still, that surprises me.
6th. It is consistently ranked in the top 5 movie musicals of all time of most lists.
Well, I can understand that. There's not a lot of them.
Oh no, there's Singing in the Rain, and there's all of those musicals as well. Those are they're not musical theater movies, but they are musical movies. So there are quite a few of them, but of this time, since it was in the 60s, this art form, the movie musical, was dying. And this came out at just the right time with just the right kind of plot for what people were looking for at that point.
Boring.
It is not boring. It breathes some life back into this specific genre. And it opened the doors for the movie musicals that come out now, like Hamilton and Les Mis and a few of the other ones recently. So that's what I have to say about kind of the background of The Sound of Music. It is a movie that I watched yearly growing up because we did not have cable, and they played it once a year. I can't remember. It was surrounding a holiday. It might have been Easter maybe, where they would play it. And my aunt, who loved to play the piano after dinner on Sundays, would play Rodgers and Hammerstein stuff. And one of her favorite songs to play, well, a couple of them, was I Have Confidence and The Sound of Music itself, the title song. Also, every Christmas, you hear another song from The Sound of Music everywhere called My Favorite Things.
All right. Well, I mean, thankfully, I didn't have to grow up with the movie. I will say, in all fairness, this is our second watching because, as you know, there was a little hiatus between our last movie and this movie, or our last group of movies and this movie. I did have a little bit more appreciation for it watching it the second time than I did watching it the first time. I did see a few more things. Like, for example, the nuns were a group of Heathers, dating you if you understand that reference, but a great group of Heathers, or Julie Andrews' character who was, what was her name?
Maria.
Maria, okay. They were the reindeer to Maria's Rudolph.
They were mean, yes.
Mean Girls, yes.
One of the first, actually, I think it's the first actual group song of the production, is called How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria? And they're complaining about the fact that she's happy and singing in the Abbey and running.
And they won't let her play games with them.
She's late for everything except for the meals. And yeah, she's a girl. She's a kid. I believe that Maria is supposed to be right around 21 to 23 in the movie. Julie Andrews was actually 29 when she played her, but she does look quite a bit younger.
She was 29?
Yes.
Oh.
I actually looked it up because I was thinking we were going to have one of those red flag moments.
Well, I don't know. It's the whole thing where I always think people in older movies are older than what they actually are. Just because of, you know...
Do you want to know how old Christopher Plummer was? Because this surprised me really hard.
How old was Christopher Plummer?
He was 34.
He was 34? I would have sworn he was in his 50s.
Correct.
Seriously, that is crazy. That guy needs to get out of the sun.
But anyway, so basically, for those of you who don't know, the plot is very simple. Maria is a girl who is a prospect, a novice, I think is what they call in a nunnery. She hasn't taken her vows yet, but she lives there and is training, nun in training. And because of the mean girls not really liking her, not wanting her to play their reindeer games, I guess, it comes out that she's probably not going to make that great of a nun. She's too carefree. She's too happy, I guess. Because nuns, I guess, can't be either of those things. There's a job that opens up in town. There's a large family that needs a new governess. So they assign Maria to go and help this family out until a suitable replacement can be made. So Maria goes singing along the way because it's a movie musical and you know what everybody's thinking because they sing it. Trying to talk herself into having confidence. And she gets there, and it's a huge mansion with big wrought iron gates, and it's quiet. And
with the handles to the wrought iron gate higher than what you would think people would. It was originally made for trolls, I think, giants or something of that sort.
It may have been originally made for people to open while they were mounted on horses.
Oh, now you're trying to get history into this?
Well, because I think it's an actual, place. I don't think it was a set.
Oh, man. Trying to get educated on me. Okay, go ahead. All right.
Or it could have been trolls or giants.
Okay, good. At least we agree.
Because it was in Central Europe. There, that stronghold for giants, right?
Sure. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The Black Forest.
Yeah.
Or no, wait. Austria. Well, no. Okay. Carry on.
Anyway, when she meets her new employer, Captain Von Trapp, he is rigid and cold and military. I don't know what else to describe him as.
Likes green.
Yeah, he does wear a lot of green in the movie.
I was wondering if that was something, because obviously he dresses aristocratically. Maybe it was kind of trying to represent that he was ex-military, so he had like green on his lapels and green, I was wondering if that was the reason why, or he just like green. I don't know.
I don't know. But he's so militaristic and possibly just stuck in a rut of grief after his wife died, because his wife died no more than 5 years ago, because their youngest daughter is 5. So she died relatively recently.
Didn't they say like 2 years?
Maybe. I don't know
anyway,
if they put an actual number to it, but I mean, just she gave birth to Gretel, who's 5. So it could be no more than that long, unless he has more explaining to do. I don't know. But he calls them all the kids out. There are 7 of them. Calls them all out by whistling for them on a Navy
dog whistle. Well, it's probably some kind of Navy whistle, since he was in the Navy when he was in the military. But it's basically sounds like if he's doing a dog whistle. But yeah.
So the kids all sound off from oldest to youngest. Oldest is 16, youngest is 5, and there are 7 of them. So they're spread out in age throughout the developmental stages. He tries to assign her a whistle, and she was just like, nope. And the kids put a toad in her pocket, because that's why the governesses keep quitting.
Well, the jokes, the pranks that the kids are playing, they're not being nice to their governesses.
Then they have dinner, where Maria proceeds to make the kids cry because she makes them feel so guilty about leaving the toad in her pocket. And then they make her sit on a pine cone, I think is that dinner.
Yeah.
They put a pine cone. So there's like some kid-like pranks to kind of show that they're mean kids, bad kids somehow.
So, yeah. So basically, fast forwarding a little bit, Van Trapp needs to go speak to the Baroness because she's trying to get out of Cobra. And then while that's going on, Maria brainwashes the children into liking her by using song. And when he comes back, all the kids love her and want her to be their new mom.
Kinda. Yeah. Yeah, that's as good a sum up as you're going to get. The Cobra thing I missed. That went over my head, evidently.
It was subtle.
Okay.
It was subtle.
Okay. Yeah. So he brings the governess back, who is very likely going to be his wife. The kids soften him up by singing, and they sound good. They haven't sung in the house since his wife died. Whole lot of things. He lightens up, lets them sing in front of the Baroness. And then he sings in front of the Baroness, which I have no shame in admitting that as a very small Ellen, Christopher Plummer was one of my first celebrity crushes. And
he was 35, Ellen.
Yeah. But it's mostly because of that scene where he sings the song Edelweiss, which was written as a folk song, which I find really pretty, but Steve just really doesn't like.
I don't know. I think I've heard Edelweiss. Okay, so the music was written by Rodgers and Hammerstein. I have come to realize that I am not a fan of their music.
Okay.
That's why. And I think Edelweiss is probably a very, very poignant representation of their music.
So Maria and the captain are making eyes at each other while he's singing. And the Baroness, well, notices, because women do. Women notice these things, at least in the 60s. Well, this was
yeah, women don't notice these things anymore.
No. We're oblivious as hell. Heck. Anyway, so the Baroness has a suspicion that they're actually in love with each other, but he's her employer, she's his employee, she loves the kids, you know. He also brings back from, I don't know, where did he go? It wasn't Berlin. I don't even remember where he came from.
Paris? Anyway.
He came from a big city. He came back from a big city. He brought the Baroness with him and his friend Max, who is an entertainment agent and looking for the next big singing sensation.
He's a groovy dude.
Kinda. Max is looking for the next big singing sensation to enter in the Schraubsberg music festival. And he talks to Captain, says maybe the kids will do it because it's a whole family thing. And
he tried a couple others. They talked about a couple other music groups that couldn't do it. He asked the Brady kids. They couldn't do it. So he had to go with the 7 Von Trapp children.
And the captain says, no, my kids don't sing in public. And he backs off because, he's his friend. But the captain decides, next plot point, captain decides to have a party to introduce the Baroness to his friends in Strasbourg. And I apologize if I keep saying the name of that town wrong. I really do. But he has a party.
To all our Austrian listeners, we apologize.
Or, anybody who speaks German or Austrian. Anybody. Because I'm sure
for all of our listeners that speak German and Austrian, we apologize.
I'm sure I'm butchering it. Anyway, it was a nice party. They open the ballroom up, and then they do an Austrian folk dance. They play an Austrian folk dance, and one of the kids wants Maria to teach them how to do it, so she does, and the captain cuts in, illustrating even more that the two of them have pretty deep feelings for each other.
Yeah, the Baroness walks in on them. Come to find out that she does a little underhanded talking to get Maria to want to leave. Maria leaves, goes back to the nunnery with all the Heathers, and then Von Trapp and the Baroness get together. They get married. They don't get married?
They get engaged.
They get engaged. I'm sorry. They get engaged. And, well, eventually they just get engaged. The kids go and say, you have to come back. The Baroness is getting our father's money for Cobra. And then Maria's like, you're right. I'm a G.I. Joe person. So I'm going to go and going to help him out. And they eventually get married and everybody lives happily ever after.
I honestly have no idea what movie you watched. Only part of that is true.
At the very least, I'm pretty sure the kids try to get Maria to come back.
Yes, but Maria won't see anyone.
All right, so the very subtle thing is the Cobra subplot. Got it.
Right. So Maria refuses to see anyone, including the kids. The Mother Superior sings her very inspirational song and sends her back because you don't run away from your problems, you face them on. So Maria goes back, gets her job back, finds out that the captain and the Baroness are engaged, and goes to get settled in while everybody else has dinner, I think. But after dinner, the captain and the Baroness have a long heart-to-heart, and the Baroness basically says, if somebody doesn't need me, then I just don't think I should marry them. And that includes my money, or something to that effect, which actually made me really sad, even though she was kind of mean to her. Well, not mean, but underhanded earlier in the movie. The Baroness became pretty sad when she and the captain split. And then the captain goes to find Maria, and they profess their love for each other, sing a very lovely song.
Very poignant scene in the gazebo. I actually did like how that was filmed. Actually, it kind of reminded me of Beauty and the Beast a little bit. The cartoon, the animated movie.
The way it was framed.
Yeah, the way it was framed. It was cute. It was romantic. It was, I don't know. It was well done.
Very good. So they profess their love, and then fast forward, next scene, they're getting married in the abbey with all the nuns behind the wrought
You stay in your cage, nuns. That was pretty funny. But
anyway, they have a lovely wedding. Maria wearing a dreamy wedding dress, and Captain Von Trapp looking incredibly dashing in his military uniform. Okay, so at this time, we've got to backtrack just a tad. This is Austria. This is set in Austria.
In the beginning of the movie, it says it places the location as Austria in the golden years.
The last of the golden
years. The last of the golden years of the 30s. Yes. So, as you might be aware, there's something very, very big coming at the end of the 1930s.
Yeah, and it's starting to happen in the plot of this play, of the plot of this story. As we have said, Captain Von Trapp was an officer in the Austrian Navy and retired. Probably retired when his wife died because somebody had to take care of the kids. But that's just me speculating. But their friendly neighborhood Nazi, actually their neighbors, the Nazis, would very much like for Captain Von Trapp to come out of retirement and take a command within the Third Reich's Navy.
Yes, they sent him a letter which was an offer, air quotes, to regain his commission. An offer that I'm sure he couldn't refuse.
So, throughout the whole story, every time this comes up, Captain Von Trapp reiterates over and over and over again that he is Austrian. He is not German. He is Austrian. He has a lot of pride in his lineage being Austrian, and keeps turning them down and keeps blowing them off. Flying the Austrian flag instead of the Nazi flag.
Which actually, there's a scene after he realizes what's going on where he actually tears down the Nazi flag and tears it up, showing that that he is upset with what is going on in his country.
So, that being said, there's another character, a supporting character named Rolf, who is roughly just a little bit older than Liesel, who is Captain Von Trapp's oldest girl. And they're secretly dating, I guess. Well, they're meeting in the gazebo and saying sweet things to each other. Rolf is a Nazi. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. Pretty much from the get-go.
He goes full Christian Slater on her, saying that you need to be with me, we're going to destroy this place, we're going to kill everybody as Nazis, it's going to be great.
Okay, yeah, basically. But then at the end, she finds him, well, not finds him, she sees him. It's toward the end of the plot. And I'm skipping ahead, I think.
You're skipping ahead. You're missing the best part of the movie where the Nazi guy comes up and says, "So, I have trapped you once again, Dr. Jones." And then Von Trapp says, "These kids belong in a museum," and gets his bullwhip out and starts whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
No.
Oh.
That was Indiana Jones.
Oh. We should have watched Indiana Jones.
However, the local Nazi governor or whatever does sort of look like the Nazi from...
He does. He even has the shop at the same store. That's all I'm saying.
Anyway, I gotta give it to him. So, Maria and Captain Von Trapp get married. So, that's where I left the plot, to backtrack and get some of those points. They get married, it's beautiful. They go on their their honeymoon trip for a month. And during that month, Max, being the underhanded, opportunistic man that he is, enters the kids in this music festival. Von Trapp comes back to find the Nazi flag flying on his mansion. Steve already told you that he tears it down and rips it apart, which is a fantastic image. And he receives that letter, which was delivered to Liesel from Rolf, who Rolf tells Liesel he has more important things to worry about than Liesel's feelings now.
Yep, he's called blocking her.
Mm-hmm. So Liesel hands the letter over. The captain reads it. Offer he can't refuse. And so they come up with a plan. And the plan is, even though the captain doesn't want his kids singing in public, they're going to use them, the idea that they are singing in the festival, because at first they were actually going to sing in the festival, but to get out of the house, because they need to get out and gone before the Nazis realize that he's gone. So the boys and the captain push their car off the grounds, and through some real subtle, like, exchanges of looks and tones of voices, we kind of suspect that their butler, the Von Trapp's butler, is an informer. So we're pretty sure, because they also show the butler watching them push their car off the property from a window in the mansion. Once they get the car off the property, the Nazis are there with 4 cars. And so Mrs. and Captain Von Trapp decide to use the kids singing as their cover. They give the program over, since Max already entered them, and so they're on the program. But now they all have to go sing. So they go to the festival and they sing. And while the judges are compiling their...
they're tallying their points to see who won the competition.
They sing a reprise of a song that they sang earlier. It's off. The audience is sad because they announced that the captain's is being pressed into duty. They sing their song, and they all leave, 2 at a time, 2 at a time, 2 at a time, off the stage. And then they announce, from 3rd place to 1st place, and during this time, the family is gone. Because of course they win first prize, because this is a musical. This is a Broadway musical, and it is not a tragedy. So, they win first prize, but they're not there. The Nazis scramble and ascertain that they probably went to the Abbey because that's where Maria was from. And they did. So the nuns hide them away in a cemetery on the roof.
Well, it's just part of I think it's like a room, a large, almost auditorium room that is being used as a cemetery mausoleum for probably the more aristocratic individuals in town, I would think. I mean, cool, interesting area.
So they're hiding. The nuns hide them.
Oh, and yes, now the nuns go good.
Right, because they're
helping. They just needed to marry off Maria. She was just
not good enough to be.
Yeah. Once she was married off, they were okay with it.
So they're getting out of the Abbey, and I guess this is along the way to get out. They're going to take the groundskeeper's car and drive as far as they can, and then walk over the mountains because the borders have been closed. Which sets up the most tense scene, and it was very well done, because even as an adult, after seeing the movie many, many times, I still get tense. The family's hiding behind large grave markers or monuments of some sort, and the Nazis come in shining their flashlights and shaking the gates to make sure they're locked. They are, because the nuns, of course, locked it after they left. But they can't get out until the Nazis get out of this room area or whatever. So they shake all the gates, they shine their lights, they do their thing. And then Rolf comes up into the room and hides because he has a suspicion that they're back there, because Liesel gasped when she saw him coming to the room. The rest of the Nazis leave to go. That's why I think I thought it was on the roof, because I think the line is, let's go to the roof to find the family. So they go to investigate another part of the Abbey. But Rolf stays behind and hides behind yet another monument on the other side, hiding from the family. They think the coast is clear. They get up. Rolf threatens the captain with a gun. And
then Von Trapp gets his whip out, takes the gun away from him, and pow pow, shoots him dead.
Wrong movie again.
Oh.
But the captain does disarm Rolf. The captain does disarm Rolf.
With judo.
I guess. No. I think he just grabs the gun from him, I think. And Rolf didn't seem like he was going to give them away until... What did Von Trapp do? You'll never be one of them.
You'll never be a good Nazi.
Basically. And so Rolf yells, giving them away. They run, they get in the car, they drive off. The nuns have taken the distributor caps and wires from the Nazis' cars, so when they go to start them, they can't actually chase the family.
And then one of them took a severed head.
No, that was the Family Guy episode.
Oh.
Is that Rolf? Anyway. So basically the last lines of the movie are a joke, sorta, where two of the nuns say, Mother Superior, I've sinned, and they show the Mother Superior the distributor caps and wires from the Nazis' cars. So, the ending shot is probably another shot that Steve can go on for a long time about, because it's beautiful. It shows the family crossing the mountains on foot.
Yep.
But it's showing the mountains.
As they're trying to get to Mordor to destroy the ring.
And then they do the Disney chord at the end for the beautiful song, Climb Every Mountain. So that's basically the movie that we saw. I enjoy this movie because it's got a lot of nostalgia for myself. It reminds me of my mother. It reminds me of my aunt, who has since passed away. Also, I genuinely think that it's a good plot. Whether you like the music or not, the plot itself is simple, straightforward, not veiled in anything, and it's entertaining. And I happen to like the music.
I mean, on second watch, it wasn't as bad as the first watch. I did like a few things in it. I definitely liked the locations. They were great. The acting was all right. The kids on the bikes singing was kind of fun. Maria whipping the kids with a horse crop was kind of cool. The marionette show, to me, was exceedingly boring. However, watching it a second time, I did start to get the subtleness of the tension building up towards the end when the Von Trapps have to escape. I got that a lot more the second time.
And that's actually understandable because it is subtle. It is the thing that causes the tension that makes the plot move forward, but it's not in your face like an Indiana Jones movie where you're actually facing down a Nazi. The Nazi governor in this movie only is in, I believe, 2 or 3 scenes. And I think he probably only has about 5 lines.
Yeah, in like a 100-hour movie, he was probably in it like 10 minutes.
It was not a 100-hour movie.
It felt like 100 hours. How long was it?
It's almost 3 hours. It is a long movie.
With an intermission.
I will give you that. It is a long movie. I can't state enough that, like, if you watch a movie musical that was produced and released before The Sound of Music was produced and released, and then you watch movie musicals after that point, there is a definite difference. The acting quality, because what they used to do for at least Broadway musicals that were adapted for film is they would cast the actors who played on Broadway into those movies. And that doesn't always translate. Steve and I both have acted on stage. We kind of know, like, being on stage, you have to be exaggeratedly big in just about everything, from your facial expressions to how your hands move to reactions. But on film, you can be very, very small and subtle. And this is one of the first musical movies that allowed actors. Like, Christopher Plummer was not a musical actor. And actually, you can kind of tell from his voice. It's not the best. It's not horrible, but it's not a trained voice. It's not a trained singing voice. Christopher Plummer was an actor. And Julie Andrews did come from Broadway, but she was young enough that the director was able to kind of mold her into what he needed for the movie. This is on the top 100 because of some of the change in philosophy of telling the story of a musical on film, as opposed to watching it on stage. So watching it on stage is all choreography and huge smiles and big hand movements. And if you saw it up close, you'd be like, why the hell are they moving that way? Whereas film can get pretty much right up in your face and you can be pretty subtle. You don't have to be huge. So there's that. I liked it. Steve Smith.
I don't know. It was long. If it was long and I liked the music more, I probably would have liked it a lot more. Like I said, I did appreciate it more on my second viewing, but probably that will be my last viewing.
I can give you that. I will say that Rodgers and Hammerstein, whether you like their music or not, especially in their later plays and their later productions, they touched a little bit more on actual big themes. And this big theme was, well, Nazism. I don't even want to say racism.
The loss of freedom.
Yeah.
And the fight to maintain it.
And the wonderful thing about this specific play is it came out in 1962, which was a little less than 20 years after World War II was the armistice was signed. Which means they didn't even have to be subtle about what they were saying in it. They didn't have to hide it from people because they had just literally fought and won a war over these issues. So that was nice. There was no subtlety to read into it. It was Nazis bad, freedom good, okay? But anyway, that is our review of The Sound of Music. Steve's meh, never really wants to see it again. I really liked it, but I've always liked it. So, for our next couple of movies, we have decided on them. Our bad movie will be next. I don't know if it'll be next week. I'm not going to commit to an actual strict schedule yet, but our next movie is Manos, The Hands of Fate, which on some list, not ours, but on some lists that is the number one worst movie made of all time. So pray for us. Our next good movie, which will be after Manos, The Hands of Fate, is one that Steve, I believe, is looking forward to because it's one of his favorite actors, one of the vehicles for Jimmy Stewart. It's Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Yep. I like that movie already. Spoiler alert. And I have seen it more than a couple times. So, there you go. All right. Well, it does look like they are turning the lights up on the street. So, we must be getting out of here. That was our review of the prequel movie to the TV show 8 is Enough. As you are aware, if you like this, subscribe. I think I broke Ellen. Sorry. If you like this, please subscribe. Leave a comment. Anything else, Ellen?
No.
All
Have
right.
a good night.
Have a good night, everyone.